I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. I think, yummy, yummy, yummy. And I also think to have a good meal, there's lots of different tastes, you know, and when they're all combined in a way that, looking at Rachel as the cook back here, and others, Ellen, and there's lots of different flavors, and to leave out death, which sounds sort of ominous, but to leave out this process that each one of us will go through, our loved ones will, we know the 5 remembrances, would be to leave out, in some ways, the pot that's the no pot. So what I want to do today, next week we'll be focusing on Dogen's teachings on birth and death, because death is a fundamental ground, looking at death, what is this thing that is no thing. And then the week after that, on a Tuesday, we'll do a Jesus ceremony. But for today, I wanted to bring forward my own personal experiences. And I thought it might be most skillful. I want to highly recommend. I found, I didn't even know it had been done on the web, because I love to, as you know, go searching for things. In 2018, San Francisco Zen Center put together an amazing resource called When Blossoms Fall, a Zen Guide for Death and Dying. Linda Ruth, who was the abbess at the time, along with Tova Green and others, compiled it. So I really want to point you to that, because they have different chants in there. Everything I'm going to say is in there. And resources, organizations that you can reach out to help in this process. So I thought the entry into When Blossoms Fall, that this booklet is designed to help us face our own death and the deaths of our loved ones with compassion and awareness. Practicing with our own mortality and the mortality of our family and friends can be very difficult. Many of us put off asking questions, making decisions, leaving instructions of creating documents in advance, and as a result, when death comes, we may be unprepared, confused, and unable to decide what to do. Not a good thing to put it off to the end. And I would, anybody who's here practicing is already has already entered this territory, because you can't sit and not follow an exhale all the way to the end, or notice that when you get partway to the end, it's like, that was far enough. I think I'll just take a gulp of air to come back and make sure I'm alive. We can notice that in different mind states too. So I think I can be here and feel this mind state, this body state all the way through, but no, I really can't do that today. I think I'll distract or go someplace else, or, I mean, you know, we all know this. So we enter this with great compassion, a poignancy, a little bit of a sense of humor, and a sense of, as it says on the Han, birth and death is serious business, swiftly passing gone. Don't waste this life, wake up. Buddhists view death as a normal process, a natural part of life which we all will face. The Dalai Lama says, death is a reality that I accept will occur as long as I remain in this earthly existence. Yet death is unpredictable. We do not know when or how it will take place, so it is only sensible to take certain precautions before it actually happens. The Buddha taught the contemplation of death is the most noble of all contemplations. It's like the elephant's footprint. The footprint of all the other animals fits inside the elephants. Isn't that a beautiful image? All other contemplations are a subset of the contemplation of death. Preparing for a peaceful death. Oh, we're all going to have a peaceful death? Oh, I hope so. Oh, I hope so. I read earlier a quote by the Dalai Lama who said, I love this, I have spent my whole life preparing for death, because in the Tibetan tradition, the practices really are focused on death explicitly. And he said, and probably at the end I'll blow it, which I think we're getting a little wiser, but I really do see us Zen people, or in the past, or thinking that a peaceful death is what we're all practicing for, and therefore if you don't get a peaceful death, you somehow blew it. I feel so humble about all of this, including being a human being, for goodness sakes. It's like, I really hope that I can just ride the exhale all the way out. And I also completely, it's a process. And I would imagine that there will be 100 million different things that will arise and flash before my eyes and through my body and through each one of us. And we can help each other. And I think that's part of the gift of talking about death and of bringing forward some of these practices, is how do we help the people that we love, which includes ourselves, in this area of vast unknown. Preparation for a peaceful death includes cultivating peace in our minds and in our way of life. From the Buddhist point of view, the actual experience of death is very important. At the time of death, the Dalai Lama says the most profound and beneficial experiences can come about. And for this reason, it may be helpful to engage in meditative practices as we are passing away. I remember Lou Richmond, who was one of the primary teachers at San Francisco Zen Center in the early days, and he was diagnosed with, I can't remember at this moment. He was a really good meditator. He said he couldn't meditate. He had, I think his background was Unitarianism before Zen, and he said in the end all he could do was just pray. So you know, it's like let's help each other find what's true in the moment. We may come to the time of death in pain or with unfinished business. It may not be helpful to have a fixed idea of what is a good death. Katagiri Roshi said, we shouldn't have a particular idea of what is a happy death. One person is struggling or screaming in his or her last moments. Another person is praying to God. Another is chanting the name of Buddha. Another is expressing anger and hatred. That is fine. Whatever way a person dies is just fine. The Dalai Lama says our prime aim in helping a dying person is to put them at ease. I was doing a little more of my Googling, and so when I first came to this, this is my perception, is it was in the early 80s, and there was no Zen hospice. I mean, this whole thing that's happened has happened fairly recently. And when I came to it, and I want to keep bowing to Martha de Barros as the mother of this, who was the one at San Francisco Zen Center who trained me. It was because Zen entered into this practice because Zen people know how to sit around and do nothing. It's like all this, it makes you really nervous. It's like the person you love is suffering. So surely you must give them, they must need food, give them food. I mean, that's one of the big last one, is like, eat. What's this person really need? how am I going to fix this? Maybe you can't fix it, but to be in the room with just deep presence. This is Zen Hospice guidelines, guiding principles. Death and dying are not emergencies. Mm-hmm. Stay awake to your being while doing. Both together are the way. Watch for your agenda and then put it aside. Follow the lead of the resident and family for what is needed right now. In my own family system, I'm pretty well trained. My husband's pretty well trained, and mostly, so far the people that have died mostly didn't want to hear about it. Which is just one more, it's like, but I'm here to help you. I spent my whole life getting ready to help you. And it's like, you just have to listen. If somebody's Christian, completely bow to that. If somebody just wants you out of, whatever, just listen. That's what we're really good at. What's really needed in this moment. Stop and breathe when you think you don't know what to do. Please, always, but here, be attentive to all before you, and a way can be found. Be honest with yourself and others if you don't know. Not knowing is most intimate. Ask, listen, seek guidance, practice comfort within silence. Pretty good guiding principles for living, right? And dying. Okay, practical. I have a little, one could say, a cheat sheet that I have made up over the years to kind of help me, because there's always there's an emotional process when you hear or know someone is dying, and it's a huge gift to be able to participate in any way, which may just be going to visit and just sitting there and breathing with someone for 10 minutes. And then there's lots of other people, and really just keep dropping agendas. So Zen Center, and I'll add to this, during the illness, a well-being ceremony, or well-being, we put names on our chant list, and it's always very poignant, is we put someone's name there if they're not well, in body, mind, or spirit, but often it's a lot that someone's name can be there for a long time, and then there's the moment where their name gets changed to safe passage. You just get a call, and and you just change it to safe passage. Practices during the time when someone's ill. Practices that support concentration, mindfulness, and calmness are helpful, such as counting breaths, repeating mantras, chanting, or zazen, either sitting or lying down. These can be done alone or with friends, family, or Buddhist practitioners. I remember Steve Stuckey, who was the abbot of San Francisco Zen Center. He loved Dogen, and he would ask people just to come and read Dogen by his bedside. He was in a lot of pain. It was pancreatic cancer, so it was fast. But for him, having someone just come and read Dogen, or could be the Metta Sutta, or it could just be breathing, or it could be, if there's a Christian phrases, or just just this, just in breath, out breath. Final days. In Tibetan practice, my understanding is that when a monk is dying, or because there's such emphasis on what happens at the end of the breath, at the end of a lifetime, is that family members are asked not to be there. I'm not suggesting this at all, but I'm just saying it as a way to, because family members are going to be agitated by nature. And when I think about when I die, what's going to be hard for me, it's going to be my loved ones, of leaving them. And of course I want them completely there, but it's also aware of how important it is, because we have practice. We can be friends and family members who can really be practicing with great grief and sadness and whatever's in the room, and it's always whatever is there is completely it. And if one of us can just be there, breathing in and out, not trying to change it, not judge it, but just be there to help stabilize it. Create an altar. Beautiful to create an altar in a room. You can do that in a hospital room, or wherever you are. It's helpful to have seasoned people in the room, people who aren't scared. Of course, you never know. Caregivers can create an atmosphere of practice around the dying person. Ask the person if they're alert, any big or small decisions about their care. Supported practice like loving kindness, metta, tonglen, breathing in and out. Breathing with the person. It's an amazing practice, because we're so, on an unconscious level, we're just breathing. We're not aware of it, but we are so aware. I'm so aware. My body is that you're all breathing. And then all of a sudden, there's this breath thing that starts happening when somebody's dying, and you've been following their breath, and then all of a sudden, my experience is that if you try to breathe with them and follow their breath, you're probably going to keel over from some sort of you just can't do it in a certain way. But during the time when their breath still has some regularity, it's really beautiful to breathe with someone. Chanting. Listening to a tape of chanting can be very helpful. The atmosphere of practice can be maintained up to and after the moment of death. However, again, there are many ways to die. It's important for the dying person, their family, and friends to know, I keep saying this, there is no perfect death. The dying person may be in pain. He or she and friends and family members may not be calm. When Martha de Barros' husband was dying, she knew she couldn't be calm. And so we were in the next room with her. Some people were in the room with him. These are just all, I'm not saying any of this is right or wrong, is that he had certain people that he knew and trusted could really be there with him all the way through. And some of us sat in the room with Martha, right next door. Right there, but in the next room, because she knew. She just knew it was too hard. And that was really kind of beautiful. And it was a privilege to be with her, and that she could say that. And this is like, Martha had been doing it forever and ever and ever. And she just, no, please come be with me, and you be with Lee. Simple rituals may be done just prior to death. Chanting, lighting candles, reading sutras, playing music. As death is a mystery, no one knows for certain what day, what moment this will occur. However, and we know we have hospice people in the room, the body gives signs that death is near. And Erica shared some of this and said it, Patty, on Tuesday. Lack of appetite. It's common. Lack of appetite. You don't have to try to force feed people. So hard. Inability to swallow, labored breathing, blueness in the extremities. It is helpful to approach each day as if it is the last. It may be really helpful to simplify what's in the room. Ask visitors to maintain a calm presence. The environment in the room is more important than any words one can offer. My experience, and again, whatever happens is just fine, is I know when my sister-in-law was dying, everybody was really nervous about this, and so it was kind of a party atmosphere in the room, which I think there was a place where that was kind of wonderful and appropriate, and then at a certain point it was just clear that wasn't helpful anymore. And of course, whatever the family needs and wants, you just go with that. But there's a possibility of just suggesting, maybe at this point we're just going to make this more calm and simple here. Many Zen practitioners wish to continue to practice Zazen meditation if they are able, sitting or lying down. I know a lot of people at the end who consciously will think they were doing Zazen. The process takes over. It would be very unusual. I mean, there's stories about Zen masters dying upright in Zen posture and meditation, but I certainly don't expect to be. But you could also, who knows what's going on in the dying process? You know, who knows? If you've practiced for a lifetime, what's going to be there and available for you? If meditation is not an option, friends can sit Zazen in the room, chant or sit near the bed, and offer to breathe in synchronicity, or just breathe in synchronicity. Spiritual friends are really, really helpful. Okay, care of the space immediately after someone who has died. The moment of death is a sacred time. Be present for it. There is no need to rush. My experience is that it's an enormous gift to be able to be there at the moment of death, and it's not. And who knows anything? But my experience is that, and I've heard stories, is that, and again, who knows, is that sometimes the dying person will wait till everybody's left, or a particularly beloved person has just left town, or like it's too hard. Who knows? It just seems like it's too hard. So we get to watch our attachments. About, I want to be there. This is the big moment. I wasn't there. If you're there, that's really lovely. But I also trust there is some agency of the person who's dying in a way we can only conjecture from here. Okay, so now I have a little list here to myself, and I'll just offer some of it. If you know that the time is near, it's really beautiful in this part of the process to gather cleansing and aromatic herbs, because there's a process again if it's welcomed by the person and the family of bathing the body. And it's a beautiful thing, preparing the herbs. Yerba Santa from Tassajara is one Harry Roberts taught the Yurok Indian as a cleansing herb. But in here, I think they talk about lavender and, can't quite remember, lavender or an herb may be added to the water. So you can prepare, there's kind of rituals in this that I find very reassuring, is that you can collect the pots, and you can collect the herbs, and you can collect the chant books. You can have a bell and mukugyo nearby. You have the altar set up. You can have determined with the person what kind of clothing they would like to wear, and if you have a rakusu, it's appropriate that when the person dies you put the rakusu on them. You can put together ahead of time an email list of who's going to be notified and how, and different people can help with this kind of thing, and it actually makes everybody happy, because everybody gets, people have assigned tasks and can do things. Zafus or zabutons in the room, if people sit in zafus or zabutons. So you're sort of setting up, you're creating the environment and your state of mind. After death, the room can be cleaned, medications and sick room equipment removed, and fresh flowers brought in. So usually when someone dies, even if they're at home, but if you're in communication with a hospital, is you don't need all that stuff anymore. You can just ask and they're really good, and just take all that stuff out. People may be invited to come in and sit zazen throughout the day in the presence of the body. Again, this is really determined by traditionally. There's a sitting with the body for 3 days, but that's really traditional. That rarely happens anymore. You can sit with because it makes everybody uncomfortable. It's kind of weird in our culture unless there's a really firm grounding. But there is a really, you can slow the process down. So you remove all the sick room stuff. Keep the room open, the room cool with the windows open to keep the body cool. A quiet feeling in the room is appropriate. And people may have a need to give immediate expression to their grief or to tell stories, which you can do in a really beautiful way together. So when someone dies, call the doctor or the hospice nurse involved so that they can set in motion so they can pronounce the person dead. And you can tell them, please don't come and get the body. I hope this is okay please, we'll call you when it's time to come get the body. Mm-hmm. You can say, we'll call you in an hour, we'll call you in a day. All you need to do is just tell them that the person has died. So, one of the things that I've noticed, and I'll just pass this along, is, but for me as like a priest or someone who's there's this urgency. Is like, oh my God, they died. Now I got to do all this stuff. You know what? You can slow the whole thing down. There's lots of room here, and in fact the recommendation is before you do anything when someone dies, just sit with them for 30 to 45 minutes. Just stop. There's something in the process of the dying, there's something that happens in the room. Just stop and be there and breathe. And then you can begin removing the old clothes. Again, this is with permission. I can't say this enough. I'm just telling you traditional possibilities. You can begin to remove the old clothes, being really sensitive about privacy and private parts. And you can then begin to bathe the body, which is a beautiful thing to do with another person or with 3 people, because bodies get really heavy. And putting on new clothes, which sometimes is easy. I haven't found that to be so easy. So sometimes you cut the new clothes down the back, and then you can put them on and tuck them in and put on the rakusu. It's a very beautiful, deeply respectful thing to be able to do with people. Seeing what's here that I may be missing. If someone is a priest, they wear their okesa. You put their okesa on them. I've had this is just sort of Zen details about whether the rakusu or the okesa goes into the fire, into cremation. And I think the last thing that I heard was a rakusu goes into the fire, but the okesa doesn't. It's kept. Trying to feel the order in my mind. The Heart Sutra. It's the Heart Sutra makes complete sense in this process. This form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. Who's here? Who's not here? What's happening here in the final gate, gate, parasamgate, bodhi, swaha. So it seems to me that after sitting with the body and then bathing the body, and the body is then, you can put flowers around. You could well imagine me. I love you make it really beautiful. And then you sit and you chant the Heart Sutra, and you chant the final you chant the gate, paragate 108 times. And then if you're, I suppose anybody could do it, but especially if there's someone there who's a priest, and if the person has given taken the precepts, and it means something, is you give the precepts again. And then the precepts are given again if there's to be a ceremony before cremation, they're given then, and then they're given again at the funeral ceremony. So precepts are given. You can't give the precepts enough. And the Daihi Shindarani, which is if there's a chant book there and you know the Daihi Shindarani, which I'll give you the language of, which is an ancient mantra, gate, that can be chanted, but the Enmei Juku Kanangyo, which we all know can easily be chanted and with great love and joy. When the body is taken away, you can also be there for that in the company without chanting. Again, this is, please, if people don't want you to do this, don't do it. Chant yourself. You can do all of this really silently and quietly. Seeing if there's anything else here. You can, it's beautiful and it's recommended. For 49 days, chant the Heart Sutra for the person to help them on their way. Again, we have no idea. This is all just passed down, and it's part shamanism, and it's part Zen, and it's part, who knows who it's helping and who it's making feel better. But it's beautiful to chant the Heart Sutra for 49 days. It says here you can also do a personal service each week for 7 weeks. So, let's see. And you would have hopefully made arrangements for cremation and for burial services way before you got all this figured out. And in Sebastopol, in Marin County, there's a place that does green burials. In Sonoma County, there's a place that does green burials and cremations, and you can be there. You can be there right at the with the cremation. You don't have to do any of this, but it's also it's a beautiful thing to do if it happens to be what makes you and your loved one happy. Here's a translation of the Daihi Shindarani. It's the chant of boundless compassion. Absorbing world sounds awakens a Buddha right here. Absorbing world sounds awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha receives only compassion, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just compassion. And thus the pure heart always rejoices. In the light recall this, in the dark recall this. Moment after moment the true heart arises. Time after time there is nothing but this. Isn't that beautiful? I've never read the translation before. Let me do it again. Absorbing world sounds awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha receives only compassion, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, just compassion. Thus the pure heart always rejoices. In the light, recall this. In the dark, recall this. Moment after moment, the true heart arises. Time after time, there is nothing but this. What a beautiful thing to be chanting while someone is dying, and when we're in our grief, or any time. And the Daihi Shindarani is always what's chanted at a memorial service. So you're helping open the gate that's always open for the person to slip out and be free and be one with who they always have been and are. And there's a number of different chants in the Zen Center resource. So I think maybe we're going to do this. We're going to do the service, which seems more than appropriate. I don't want to mix everybody up and say we're going to do the Daihi Shindarani. That would be really confusing, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be. I just looked at Constance. Yeah. So we won't do the Daihi Shindarani, but we will dedicate it to the earth. That is the birth, death, earth all the time. Good heavens. We're watching birth happen. It completely arises out of what looks like death. Doesn't that amaze you when you look at something and you look at the ground and then it's like a bulb comes up or a tree, a leaf comes back. It's everywhere all the time. It's just with loved ones we are a little attached to a particular form that will never be again, a relationship that will never be again. And but let's not waste time remembering to appreciate each other when they're on the way out. Let's really make it a practice of just this life, just this moment. This life is precious. How can I, to the very best of my ability, start here with kindness and compassion and just extend it out? So maybe I'll just take a couple minutes. Are there any questions? That maybe something I said that would be helpful for me to clarify? And I'm always available.